quick alert from the aviation authorities at Dubai International Airport. If you happen to belong to a cricket team that has the word king in it, you have a flight to catch very soon. Simple as that. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. Just as we thought, it was just not enough runs, and the men in yellow doing it easily. 3 wins in the trot. How they wished it could have come at a different time in the tournament. Looking so efficient, and looking so efficient with run chases. Just the kind of run chase they would have wanted in game numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 when they played. Ruturaj, Gaikwad, outstanding. 3rd consecutive 50. First time for a guy in CSK colours. 3rd consecutive 50. 62 of 49 deliveries. And the one other thing we suspected, there was just not enough for KL Rahul to turn to in terms of variety in the bowling department. So all the boxes ticked by MS Dhoni and his men, all to no avail. They're going back early. Shaun, Pollock, Joy Bhattacharjya with me. Disappointing if you're from the northern part of the country, Shaun, but they probably did it to themselves after that great streak of 5 games.
Yeah, the streak of 5 games, that should get you through, to be totally honest, but it just shows how they lived to regret 2 or 3 of the first 4 games that they played. Both, I think it was 2 games in particular, which they should have won. They should have got those points, and they should have been qualified comfortably once they went on that run. The decision to get Gale in obviously proved to be very fruitful for them as the tournament went on, but eventually just falling short. And yeah, they'll be disappointed with that. They've got some new management involved. They came up with some new ideas, and to also have a team where you've basically got 2 of your batsmen, or even 3 of your batsmen, probably in the top 10 of the run scoring charts for the tournament. And considering Gale probably only played half the matches. Yeah, it's a tough one to swallow for the fans, because when you've got 3 guys who perform so brilliantly, to not even get into the playoffs is very disappointing.
Yeah, and I mean, if we were to Joy, I mean, once the top 4 become clear, I have a sneaking suspicion if you were to make a team of the tournament, at least for the league stage, you might even have more players from the 4 teams who haven't qualified than from the 4 who have, and Punjab will definitely contribute a couple of them.
Absolutely, some outstanding performances out here. I think they reached a stage where once they got, so if you see Punjab over the last 2-3 years, they've not even come close to qualifying. Moving to a season where they were 1-6 and then taking it down to the last match is credit. I mean, they're not thinking about that now, but there's credit to them, and they will regret those early matches, as Shaun was talking about. But one of the things is, they finally came to a situation where they put pressure on themselves. So far, till they were winning without any pressure, they were winning fearlessly. Suddenly, they came up in a situation where, wow, I can actually qualify now. And I thought the way KL Rahul batted today, I thought how they were overthinking their game, which is not their natural game. I can understand KL Rahul happening to KL Rahul. I think Gale was just a bit put off by Tahir out there, and he was just trying to sort of sense out Tahir and play him out because he felt he could hit the rest. And it didn't work for them. There are days it works, there are days it doesn't. And it's a pity. I think they've been a really entertaining team, and I think they've been the sort of toast of the tournament in the second half of the tournament. They added so much to this tournament, and that's a pity that they're going out now.
And if they have a look at these particular numbers, they'll feel even worse about it, because we've put this set of numbers together, the second half heists in a sense. The one difference here is that everybody else who had this huge winning streak, be it whichever year, ended up finishing 2, at worst 4, all in the top 4. Look at Punjab, not even in the top 4. Now that's what they look back and say, that's how we missed out on opportunities early on. We've said that before, Shaun.
Yeah, we have, and that just shows how disappointing the first part was. And when you look back at that first part, they didn't play bad cricket, did they? I mean, that was in many ways where Rahul and Mayank were absolutely brilliant. They set the tournament on light with regards to how they performed. So the fact that you had 2 guys batting brilliantly at the top of the order and still couldn't get over the line in so many of the matches, I think, initially they started with Cottrell and Shami, and they haven't moved back to them by the end of the tournament with regards to Cottrell. So they probably found their balance a little bit better at the back end, but just a little bit too late.
But the toast, really, we talk about a lot of toasts right now, and certainly with 2 teams eliminated, we have to look back at that. Late in the piece again, like Gale was for Punjab, Joy, Ruturaj Gaikwad started the tournament very disappointed.
Definitely not. Okay, I just said that for effect because I wanted to say definitely not. He's been absolutely amazing. And I think what I love about him is class. He looks so good when he hits in the offside. I mean, when you see players like that, the kind of shots he hits in the offside, effortless shots, he times it beautifully, he finds gaps beautifully. And that's my point. He's once you played him in position, and we've been talking about this through the tournament, that there are players, a lot of modern coaches are looking at saying players are interchangeable pieces. Play them anywhere and they'll work. It doesn't always work. Players are not used to it. See what's happening to Robin Uttappa. It's not that he's been in the best of form, but today, as an opener, he's given far more to Rajasthan than he was ever given as a number 5 or number 6 batsman. Moment you put Ruturaj in a situation where he has a chance to play a number of balls and set himself up, he's given you 3 consecutive 50s. And I think that's the thing. You're not just getting players, not just using new talent, putting them where they relish playing and giving them a run. And I think now that you've given Ruturaj a run, there's no doubt at all that he's a fixture in the Chennai side for the next IPL.
Yeah, definitely the future of that franchise, Shaun. We mentioned at the 10-over mark, you were a little disappointed with his strike rate at that point in time after Faf du Plessis had done the hard work, but he did the right thing. He upped the ante, he didn't get bogged down, and he took them home. He was there at the end.
Yeah, he's a young player. He's going to learn his role and how to do things slightly more efficiently. It wasn't at that halfway stage. It was mainly, he had 1 run of 10 balls at the start of his innings. And that puts teams under too much pressure if you get yourself out, and also puts pressure on someone like a du Plessis, who now has to make the play when he might not be feeling comfortable. So he'll learn the art. They've got the batting coaches. They analyze the innings. They'll say to him, listen, those 2 or 3 balls that you got, you could have just knocked it down. You could have looked to walk across your stumps, maybe look to pick up third man. Why? What does it do? It just takes the pressure off you. If you pick up 3 singles and maybe a fortunate boundary, and all of a sudden your strike rate's fine, you can get yourself in, because you do. Sometimes the timing doesn't come in those first 10 deliveries, but you still have to learn how to do a job, and he'll learn it. The confidence he will take will be massive from the back end of this tournament. I've got 350s. I mean, he gets on that plane with Jadeja and maybe Curran and probably Faf du Plessis from the Chennai Super Kings team, feeling, I actually had a decent tournament. There's no problems with my performance. And next year, I'm looking forward to it. There's a couple of other guys who have to have a rethink about how they went.
And of course, if he learns the art of gratitude, Joy, and if he's on the same flight, he'll have to buy Chris Gaffney a quick drink, because he did help him get a few more runs.
Some of the decision making this IPL. I mean, I have no problems with decision making in the IPL. In the tournament, when they were just umpires looking at it from the bare naked eye. But what's happening now is the kind of decisions we're getting from the third umpire. It's just not adding up. And I mean, that one was a shocker for me. It was an absolute shocker for me. And I don't know whether it would have changed the state of the game, because Chennai had a lot more resources. But certainly that was a bad decision. It wasn't a great decision.
Yeah, it's one of those we could discuss, but we will cut that short because we know we've got a few minutes left and a big game coming up. Just a quick word about the toss. It's Kolkata who are going to have to bat first, not out of choice, of course. It is Steve Smith who won the toss and very unhesitatingly looked at Owen Morgan and said, Mr. Morgan, please, you go first. Kolkata versus Rajasthan, that's what's coming up. And let's go straight to the lineups, because the big news, of course, we look at the points table first. That's important. It's important. Let's look at the numbers, then we look at the names. Yep. Q for Mumbai. It would have been a Q for Punjab had they got over the line, but it's not. So we have a Q-less lineup under Mumbai at the moment, which is making it even more fascinating with just 3 games left in the league stage. Quick look at the scenarios, shall we, Shaun Pollock, before we go to the lineups? A quick reminder.
Yeah, there's plenty of scenarios, isn't there? And ones that everyone's going to watch carefully. I just want to go also down to the toss, though, before we look at the graphic. With regards to, it makes so much sense, because if you are batting second, Rajasthan Royals have been really good batting second. And now Kolkata know that if they are to make, and the net run rate, as you'll see how it has to improve to a certain point to make sure they qualify, they know they have to win by maybe 80 runs if they post a certain score. So what often happens in these scenarios is that the team goes too hard, because they think we've got to get 220 or 230 to defend in order to win this game and meet the criteria for the net run rate. And by doing that, they lose early wickets, and then they often peter out into absolutely nothing. Rajasthan will come in and say, listen, we've got to get this in 13 overs, and the task is much easier. So that is what we've got to watch and see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a Wild West game, because once it comes to a situation where either team thinks they're going to win, they are going to throw the kitchen sink at it. But what do I love most of all? This is the third last game of this tournament. Kolkata is sitting last in the points table, and they could qualify. I mean, it's tough for them to qualify. That's the thing. They need to win tonight's shootout, and it is a shootout. It is the Wild West today. It is the Wild West. But and then hope Mumbai beats Hyderabad. But this is a big, big match for them. And then, of course, Delhi Bangalore, it's an easy one. Either of them win there through. The other guy, if they don't lose too badly, still might qualify. Because remember, Delhi and Bangalore's run rates are quite high compared to, say, Calcutta or Rajasthan. So they still could qualify. And obviously for Hyderabad, they've got everything in their own hands. They just have to beat Mumbai. It's not as easy as you think, because even if Mumbai don't play their entire lineup, they're still a formidable team. So let's see what happens there.
But when it comes to the lineups today, the imminent game, we had a little chat yesterday, and Shaun Pollock suggested that if Dre Russ was even 70% fit, we'd see him on the field. Now, we're not sure. No one's going to tell us the numbers of how fit he is. All we can tell you is he's playing. Yep, that's the big news. If you're a Kolkata fan, he's in there. Andre Russell comes into the lineup instead of Lockie Ferguson, who had that just one bad game in the last one, and Shivam Mavi makes his way into the lineup in place of Rinku Singh. So this looks like almost a perfect 11 for Kolkata. The question is it too little, too late, Joy?
Look, I think they have something to go for, and they'll bat first. They'll try and hit the ball out of the stadium. They've got young guns to throw it. I'm interested. They've gone the exact opposite of somebody like what happened with Punjab. They've gone for the extra bowler. I mean, they replaced a bowler with an all-rounder, but then they replaced a batsman with a bowler. But I think that's what they're going to do. They're just going to say, can we get 230, put Rajasthan under a huge amount of scoreboard pressure, and knock them over for 120? Because that's what's going to happen. And it'll be interesting to see. Suppose you put up, say, 180, 190 on the board, and Rajasthan is 100, 110. Do they play spoilers and make it to 140? Or do they say, I'm going to still try and win and give Kolkata that opportunity? Very interesting things. So much psychology will then come into it because Rajasthan's chasing. It'll be fascinating to see how this turns out.
Yeah, I know it's the last game of the weekend, but for me, it's the exciting one. This is the one I've been looking forward to, particularly the way the scenarios have panned out. Dre Russ, I think, good call to get him back in. It would be a brilliant call to get him back in if he was in the form that we've seen from him over the last 2 years. It's been a bit patchy, to say the least, performance-wise from him. But sitting on the side, maybe it's been a re-energizing time and he'll come out with a new determination. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. I do think they need that hitability at the back end, particularly when you're looking to get a big score. And then what he can do with regards to contributing with the ball will be vitally important.
Quick question to both of you before we see the Rajasthan lineup. Do you, having fixed things at the top of the order, do you tinker with that at all? Do you put Sunil Narayan back in there with the license and say, this is a slightly different scenario, go out and do what you do best?
I think they'll
not convinced. Not convinced when Archer's in the mix.
Good point. Good point. Fair enough. Okay, so we've got a yes and a no coming in there. Let's remind you, the men in pink, in royal pink, have gone in with an unchanged lineup. So we should have a quick glance at it because we know what that lineup is. Ben Stokes in outstanding form. Josh Butler may not quite bat there. Stephen Smith has started to find a bit of form. And of course, Jofra Archer, always the threat. He determines the opposition batting lineups and batting orders. So that's going to be a big factor. The real question, perhaps from Kolkata's point of view, is can they target someone like Varun Aaron? Can they say 4 overs, 50 runs from there? Jofra Archer can have 15 runs. One person who will be key, Shaun Pollock, will be Shubman Gill. He's been very, very good. But maybe Brendan McCullum will have to get in his ear and say, just that strike rate a little bit better. He's on our boost stamina meter, decent batting rating. 115.75. All the numbers on that graphic, Shaun, you'd want that improved.
Yeah, you would. And I think he's going to have to box clever. As much as we've seen Chris Gale over the years box clever, I don't think the person to take on will be Archer. I think Varun Arun is definitely the man to go after. I think they would have worked out. He's lacking in confidence. And somehow you need to put him on the back foot and put him on the back foot early. And then they have to go to the other bowling options in the power play, which they probably don't want to do. They want to probably use Arun for 2. At least. So He has that opportunity. And if I know Brendan McCullum, here we going up to him and saying, listen, bat like me, bat like I used to bat in the first 6 overs. Back yourself, get out there, play some shots. And it's all on the line. We trust you, but back yourself and back your options.
It's a scary thing to tell anyone, bat like me. I mean, given that he is the man who actually set the tone for this entire tournament for 13 seasons of it, Joy.
Yeah, I remember this hilarious story where we were playing against Mumbai and he was batting and he did exactly that. He used to run at the bowlers. So he's halfway down the pitch and I think it was a Abu Nacheem, one of those early days in Mumbai. And Abu Nacheem hits him on the pad and he's halfway down the, he's literally on the 7th or 8th yard. And the umpire gives him leg before. And, walking past him, Brendan turns around and tells the umpire, you're going to have a wonderful day because that's the worst decision you've made today. You'll never make a worse decision than that. The rest of your day is going to be terrific. Of course, after he reached the dressing room, there was chaos, but it was very funny.
I'm sure I was involved in the Mumbai team at that stage. I thought it was stone dead.
Yeah, well, umpiring has been a bit of a talking point. I like the way he finished that one off. But yeah,
well played, Mr. Pollock.
Maybe not quite that sort of advice for Shubman Gill, but will be key at the top of the order to give that solid start. And then you've got many people. You want Owen Morgan to be in 6-hitting form, Sunil Narayan to get some deliveries in there to deliver what he can. And of course, Andre Russell. But who do we feel is our My 11 Circle trump card? With the chasing side and the captain, Stephen Smith. Now, the reason why we've put him as a trump card is because we've had a close look at your My 11 Circle teams and we found a lot of you not choosing Stephen Smith with good reason. He went through that phase. And gentlemen, let me remind you, it all started against Kolkata. That one delivery against Pat Cummins in Dubai, where he was looking in imperious form until that point, and he plays a shocker of a shot, and then it sort of became a slump for him, Shaun.
Yeah, it was a bit of a snowball effect. It was 2 innings in a row, I think. I was horrified by some of the shots I saw from him. It hasn't been a great tournament for Steve. The fact that he is looking to be the trump card rather than just an automatic selection reflects those facts. His strike rate's been poor, his average has been poor. But, as a captain, we have talked about it in this tournament, how he obviously has a part to play from that perspective and with his wealth of experience. And he is a class player, and you never know. There can just be a game, much as you say, one delivery almost set a snowball effect in place with regards to him underperforming. He just needs 2 or 3 good shots, and he's away. And he can be a very difficult customer to bowl to. And the freedom of them having to chase a score in a certain amount of overs also bring a trump card call. I think he's due for a performance.
Yeah, and chasing, Joy, just to remind everybody, they will be chasing. It's sort of no matter what kind of score they're chasing, they will need somebody with the experience of Steve Smith to say, this is how we must go about it. I'll set the trend.
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. Today, what you need are calm nerves, And I think it's good that they have Josh Butler and Steve Smith in their team because they'll need guys at 4 or 5 to say, you know what, this is what you do. You block here, we'll target this bowler, we'll do this. That's the kind of advice they'll need today because it's going to be a tactical chase, given the fact that there's not one factor. It's not just about winning, it's winning with a certain amount of run rate. It's keeping an eye on the net run rate. So all those require experience, It's not easy for junior players to, balance all that. If an international captain, he can do that. Josh Butler is a finisher for England. He's one of the finest cricketers in the world right now. Those guys are there at 4, 5, 6. I think that's really useful for them.
But I can tell you something. You think it's the likes of Gill and Nitish Rana, who, by the way, have come out to open the innings, and Owen Morgan, Russell, Narayan, who are under pressure. No, it's not. It's the likes of us who are under pressure, trying to figure out what the 20-over score might be. So we'll give each of you a few more moments to think about it and have a look quickly at the numbers that really matter. The numbers that matter in terms of net run rate. And here it goes. For Rajasthan, the equation for the victory, by 57 runs or with 37 balls or more to spare. For Kolkata, 79 runs and 55 balls. How much more difficult is that? So we know what's happening. Kolkata are batting first, so the either or is gone. If they make 179, Rajasthan have to be 100 all out. That's how tough it is.
Yeah, but remember one thing, there'll be a little bit of a squeeze there because if Bangalore loses, they're going to drop in their run rate as well. So that 79 runs might become 50 runs, but to be really sure, they have to do it with a margin of 79. To be sure about the result, they have to do it with that margin.
Right. You had loads.
That's why I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to see what Joy says KKR are going to get. I reckon he's going to say 240.
Yeah, just wishful
Because
thinking.
that's what he wants it to be.
Right, Joy. Is the badge of honor more important, or is the badge of loyalty more important? Which one?
I don't know. I think this will be an interesting one. I'm going to go high though. I'll go 185.
All right, fair enough. I mean, that's at least the kind of total they need to have on the board. Shaun, you're going to be thereabouts, there and thereabouts?
No, I don't know. I think they're going to go hard and get bowled out cheaply. But I'll back Joy. I'll go 177 again.
Ooh, 177. I mean, they need to go higher. If I go any lower, does that mean that they need Rajasthan out for double digits?
If you go any lower, you won't be allowed to stay in Kolkata. That's all I'm telling you.
Oh dear, yeah. So, oh dear. Well, okay, I'll tell you what I would have gone had I not been in Kolkata at the moment. So you can just note that down as a figure. I would have gone for 163. But because I'm in Kolkata and because obviously I've had a bit of loyalty with the franchise and the city, born and brought up here, so I'm going to go 194.
194, 185,
Yeah.
177.
Yeah, but the Jofra Archer factor certainly is going to be a huge factor. And we are not going to mention any more. We will analyze in the 10th over that the fact that Kolkata lost a wicket in the very first over. And we won't talk any more about this or change our scores. We're not supposed to do that. We'll still stick to everything that we've said out there. But remember what I said had I not been in Kolkata. Shh. My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. See you in the 10th over for Cricbuzz Combox.